Sometimes the quietest places hide the loudest secrets. Jack Monroe whispered to himself as he pushed open the creaking door of the abandoned house. The scent of damp wood and old pine filling the cold morning air, snow crunching softly beneath his worn leather boots. Blaze, his 6-year-old German shepherd, padded silently beside him, ears high and attentive, nose twitching at every subtle scent, his amber eyes glinting with alert intelligence, guiding Jack deeper into the shadowed interior. The thin rays of sunlight piercing through broken window panes, illuminating dust motes that danced like tiny spirits in the pale light, the floorboards groaning under the weight of the two of them, each step echoing through the empty, hollow rooms, walls lined with peeling paint and faded wallpaper telling stories of decades past. Jack's fingers traced the rough, cold edges of the window sills, feeling the texture of time etched into the wood, the silence broken only by the occasional distant creak of the roof shifting in the chill wind. Blaze stopped abruptly, ears twitching, paw raised, and Jack followed his gaze to a section of the floor that seemed to hum with a subtle vibration, a faint metallic echo that made the air feel thick and expectant, heart quickening. Jack knelt, brushing away debris to reveal a slightly loose plank, the dog's low growl vibrating in his chest like a warning and an invitation at once. He lifted the plank slowly, the hidden space beneath revealing itself as a dark hollow, shadows clinging to every corner, the smell of earth and forgotten wood rising to greet them. Jack's breath fogging in the icy air, his hands trembling slightly with anticipation. Blaze nudged his shoulder, urging him forward, amber eyes locked onto his, a silent promise that this was the moment they had been sensing. Jack lowered himself into the narrow opening, flashlight in hand, the beam cutting through the dense darkness, illuminating cobwebs glistening like fragile threads of silver, the walls lined with rough stone and aged timber, the air carrying a tangible stillness that seemed to pulse in rhythm with their hearts. He reached the bottom, feet steady despite the narrow space. Blaze beside him, tail low but alert, every muscle coiled and ready. Jack's eyes adjusting to the gloom as he spotted the edges of an old wooden chest, dust-covered and sealed with rusted iron clasps. A quiet thrill running through him as he realized the years had left it untouched, the dog's ears flicking at a sound too subtle for human senses, guiding Jack closer. He knelt, fingers tracing the worn patterns of the chest, a deep sense of reverence filling him, knowing that the forgotten space beneath the silent floor held more than objects. It held the echo of lives long past, and the promise of something miraculous waiting to be discovered by those patient enough to notice the subtle signs, the gentle hiss of the wind through the cracks above carrying a whisper of approval. And as Jack finally lifted the lid, the dim light catching the glint of something precious inside, a sense of awe and quiet wonder enveloped them. The abandoned house, no longer merely a relic of solitude, but a threshold into a story waiting to be told. Jack Monroe carefully lifted the chest from the shadowed floor, dust rising in soft clouds that caught the weak light from his flashlight, each particle drifting slowly like tiny stars frozen in midair. Blaze pressed close, nostrils flaring as if inhaling the stories trapped within the ancient wood, the amber glow of his eyes reflecting the same curiosity and quiet urgency that ran through Jack. He pried open the rusted clasps, the hinges creaking with a sound that felt like a long sigh from the house itself, revealing neatly stacked bundles of yellowed papers, leather-bound journals, and small wooden boxes intricately carved and sealed with care. Jack ran his fingers over the smooth surface of the journals, feeling the impressions of words long forgotten, the faint scent of cedar and old ink filling his senses. He opened the topmost journal carefully, pages brittle but legible, lines of delicate handwriting telling stories of a family that had once lived here, of small acts of kindness, community gatherings, and dreams stitched into the walls of the house. Blaze let out a low, approving growl, tail sweeping in a slow rhythm that seemed to echo the pulse of discovery. Jack lifted one of the smaller boxes, opening it to find a collection of heirloom coins, faded photographs, and tiny trinkets that had survived decades untouched, the atmosphere thick with reverence and quiet wonder. Sunlight from the broken windows shifted as the day progressed, casting elongated patterns on the floor that danced over the chest and journals. Jack carefully documented each item, feeling the weight of history and the invisible thread. Connecting past and present, Blaze sniffed gently at the edges of the chest, ears pricking at every subtle creak and whisper from the old house. Jack followed his lead, discovering beneath a pile of letters a small envelope sealed with red wax. Breaking it open revealed a note written in flowing script, a message of hope and guidance meant for someone patient and kind enough to uncover it. He read aloud softly, the words resonating in the hollow house, carrying a quiet warmth that filled the cold air. A realization settled in Jack that the abandoned house had not only preserved the tangible remnants of a life once lived, but had been waiting to reveal a lesson about patience, kindness, and the miracles that can unfold when one stays attentive to the quiet signals around them. Blaze nudged Jack gently, urging him to continue exploring, and together they moved deeper into the hidden corners of the basement, discovering more objects, each carrying a sense of narrative and purpose. Small treasures, notes, and tools arranged with intention. The light of Jack's flashlight illuminating carved symbols, maps, and annotations that suggested thoughtful planning, care, and a legacy left for someone who could appreciate it. The air carried a subtle hum, a quiet energy that Jack could feel in his chest as he absorbed the stories. Blaze sitting calmly beside him, a silent sentinel, guiding him through the unspoken history, step by careful step, until the full scope of the hidden trove became apparent, a mosaic of lives and lessons, waiting for the right hands to unlock its meaning. Jack leaned back against the cool stone wall, exhaling slowly, the weight of discovery balanced by a profound sense of connection and gratitude. The abandoned house, once silent and forgotten, now whispered softly through the light, the objects, and the loyal presence of Blaze, imparting its quiet wisdom to those willing to listen and observe, a sanctuary of memory, revelation, and gentle, human-centered miracles. Jack Monroe carefully stepped back from the chest, letting the soft glow of his flashlight illuminate the walls of the basement, the shadows stretching like silent guardians of the decades-old secrets. Blaze sitting alert at his side, ears twitching with every subtle sound, the dog's amber eyes scanning the corners with a vigilance born from years of disciplined training. Jack took a deep breath, the scent of aged wood and dust filling his lungs, grounding him in the present while the layers of history whispered softly around him. He moved toward a corner where faint etchings in the stone suggested someone had once recorded measurements or marks of importance. Brushing his fingers over them gently, feeling the tiny grooves beneath his fingertips, the faint creak of the house settling above harmonizing with the rhythm of his heartbeat. Blaze shifted slightly, nudging Jack toward a narrow opening partially hidden behind a stack of old crates, curiosity and instinct merging in the dog's silent insistence. Jack crouched and peered into the small passage, the darkness deeper and colder, air carrying a faint, musty aroma of long-forgotten belongings. He carefully stepped inside, flashlight illuminating a narrow stairway leading further down, each step revealing more of the house's hidden underworld, the walls lined with cobwebs that shimmered faintly in the beam of light, dust particles suspended in the air like tiny suspended worlds. Jack's mind raced with anticipation and wonder, imagining the lives of those who had built this hidden space. Each decision, each placement of objects, a silent message to the future. Blaze padded steadily behind, Paws whispering over the worn stone steps, alert to the subtleties Jack could barely sense. Together moving deeper, the stairwell opening into a low-ceilinged chamber where stacks of carefully labeled boxes and jars hinted at knowledge and possessions preserved with intention. Jack ran his hands over the rough surfaces, feeling the weight of time and care, the glow from his flashlight reflecting off faded metallic labels, handwritten notes, and small glass containers holding trinkets and keepsakes, each item resonating with the quiet dignity of a life once lived. He paused to read a small note tucked into a jar, words of guidance and gentle wisdom, the handwriting elegant yet firm, conveying hope, patience, and the rewards of observation and care. Blaze pressed close, sensing Jack's focus, the dog's subtle warmth a reminder of loyalty and companionship. The chamber seemed to exhale softly around them, carrying the weight of decades yet offering an unexpected sense of welcome. Jack carefully arranged a few items to better see the space, noting the deliberate organization, the intent behind every placement. Realizing this hidden room was more than storage, it was a curated testament, a quiet inheritance, meant to teach, to reward, to inspire. And as he turned to Blaze, amber eyes meeting his own, Jack felt a profound connection, the presence of the house, the treasures, and his faithful companion merging into a single moment of clarity and awe, a revelation that the past and present could coexist peacefully, guiding the future through patience, observation, and the gentle touch of kindness. The soft echo of footsteps and the quiet hum of the house settling around them becoming a melody of understanding and gratitude. Each breath, each glance, each subtle movement reinforcing the sense of discovery and reverence. Jack finally leaned back against the cool stone wall, letting the weight of the experience settle into his chest, Blaze resting his head on Jack's knee. The silent room, the treasures within, and the faithful presence of the dog creating a perfect moment of reflection, awe, and emotional restoration. The hidden basement revealing not only the secrets of the house, but the quiet miracles that can emerge when one remains attentive, patient, and open to the subtle guidance of loyal companions and the unseen lessons left behind. Jack Monroe carefully lifted a small lantern from the corner of the chamber, its soft glow spreading across the stone walls, casting long shadows that danced like quiet specters of the past. Blaze shifted slightly, the dog's amber eyes reflecting the light with an alert intensity, ears pricked toward every creak and whisper of the house. The air heavy with the scent of aged timber and faint traces of cedar. Jack inhaled deeply, feeling the chill of the basement settle into his lungs, grounding him in the present while the echoes of history surrounded him. He traced the edges of a wooden crate, discovering a set of old maps and diagrams meticulously folded and labeled, each line and marking hinting at planning and purpose, the meticulous care evident even after decades of neglect. Blaze patted closer, nose brushing against Jack's hand, guiding him toward a narrow alcove where a small stack of journals lay hidden behind a broken beam. Jack carefully removed them, flipping open pages yellowed and delicate, words written and flowing. Script capturing moments of everyday life, small joys, quiet acts of kindness, and thoughtful reflections, the rhythmic scratch of pen on paper seeming to whisper directly to him across time. He paused to read a passage aloud, the words carrying a subtle warmth, a gentle reminder of patience, empathy, and attentiveness. Blaze shifted beside him, tail sweeping slowly as if punctuating the significance of the message, the ambient silence punctuated only by the soft creak of settling wood above, and the faint rustle of dust stirred by their movements. Jack's eyes scanned the floor and walls, taking in the careful placement of small containers, boxes, and trinkets, each arranged with deliberate intention. He gently picked up a carved wooden figurine, feeling the smooth curves worn by time, a small token of memory and care, and placed it beside a stack of journals, arranging them to see the full scope of the hidden collection. The realization washed over him that this basement, long forgotten and silent, was a sanctuary of legacy and quiet miracles, each object a fragment of history preserved for discovery by someone patient enough to notice. Jack leaned back against the stone wall, letting the soft glow of the lantern illuminate Blaze's attentive face, the dog resting his head briefly on Jack's knee, exuding calm and reassurance. A profound sense of gratitude and connection filling Jack's chest. He moved slowly through the chamber, examining additional items, notes tucked carefully into small boxes, the subtle aroma of old parchment and wood mingling with the cool air, his fingertips brushing the edges of a small locked box, the brass tarnished yet elegant, the surface cold to the touch. Blaze nudged it gently, the dog's subtle insistence guiding Jack's attention toward this final hidden treasure. Jack opened it to find an assortment of handwritten letters, neatly folded, and a collection of small mementos, each carrying the weight of past lives and intentions. The chamber now fully revealed to him as a repository of thoughtful care, reflection, and quiet human kindness. Jack felt a sense of purpose and reverence settle deeply within him, knowing that the abandoned house silent and patient, had offered not only tangible objects, but also a profound lesson in observation, empathy, and trust, Blaze remaining close, silent, and vigilant. Their partnership a living testament to patience and attention. The soft light from the lantern, combined with the gentle sounds of the settling house and the faint whisper of the wind outside, created a space of reflection and awe, a place where past and present converge to impart its quiet wisdom, each discovery a gentle affirmation of the miracles that can emerge when one listens, observes, and honors both the seen and unseen. The soft pulse of time felt in the creaking beams and the dust motes floating in the air reinforcing the sacred stillness of the moment. Jack exhaled slowly, his heart aligned with the rhythm of the house, the treasures within, and the loyal presence of Blaze, a profound harmony of discovery, understanding, and quiet, enduring wonder. Jack Monroe slowly stood in the dim chamber, the lantern casting warm, trembling light over the carefully preserved treasures and journals that surrounded him, Blaze sitting alertly at his side, ears flicking with each subtle echo of the old house, the dog's amber eyes reflecting a quiet vigilance that reminded Jack of the faithful partnership they had shared through countless days and silent miles. He took a deep breath, feeling the chill of the stone floor beneath his boots and the weight of decades resting in the air around him. Reaching toward a neatly stacked pile of letters, each envelope sealed with wax and handwritten with deliberate care, Jack unfolded one carefully, the script looping gracefully across the paper, conveying stories of hope, patience, and the gentle acts of kindness that had defined the lives of those who once inhabited the house. Blaze nudged his hand gently, a silent encouragement to continue, and Jack allowed himself to be drawn into the narrative, reading aloud softly, letting the words resonate through the quiet chamber, the air thick with the scent of old paper and polished wood, the faint hum of the settling house blending with the rhythm of his heartbeat. He moved slowly to another corner, discovering a collection of small carved figurines, their surfaces smooth from handling over the years, each one telling its own quiet story. Jack carefully arranged them on a low shelf, noticing the deliberate placement and the care that had gone into preserving their significance. Blaze pressed close, his nose brushing against Jack's hand as if to share in the moment, a subtle warmth spreading through Jack's chest. He paused to glance around the chamber, the dust motes drifting in the lantern light like tiny galaxies suspended in stillness, the shadows stretching across the stone walls and wooden beams, a reminder that time here moved differently, measured not by hours but by the patience and attention of those who had come before. Jack lifted a small, intricately carved wooden box, the hinges cold but smooth, opening it to reveal delicate trinkets, small coins, and folded notes, each item a fragment of memory and care. He examined them carefully, feeling the texture of the past in his fingertips, and realized that the house had been more than a shelter. It was a living archive of human thought, emotion, and deliberate kindness preserved for those who could recognize it. Blaze sat quietly, tail sweeping slowly, his presence grounding Jack as he absorbed the significance of each discovery. Jack carefully set the box aside and explored a low shelf tucked into the shadow of the chamber, discovering journals filled with meticulous accounts, observations, and reflections, stories of community, quiet triumphs, and daily acts of goodness. He read passages aloud, letting the cadence of the words fill the silent space, the room feeling alive with history and intention, the light from the lantern warming the cold stone around them. Jack felt a deep connection to the people who had once curated this hidden trove, and to Blaze, whose intuition and loyalty had guided him here. Together moving slowly through the chamber, touching each object with reverence, listening to the subtle whispers of the past embedded in the walls, floors, and air, he realized that the house had been waiting for someone to notice, to listen, and to appreciate the quiet miracles contained within. The soft hum of the lantern, the subtle creak of the house, and the rhythmic presence of Blaze created a perfect harmony of discovery and reflection. Jack leaned back against the cool stone wall, feeling a profound sense of peace and understanding settle within him. The chamber no longer simply a hidden basement, but a sanctuary of memory, patience, and the quiet rewards of attentiveness. Each object, note, and trinket imparting wisdom, and the loyal presence of Blaze beside him reinforcing the enduring value of companionship, trust, and the ability to recognize the extraordinary within the ordinary. Jack exhaled slowly, the weight of the house and its treasures settling into his consciousness as he absorbed the full magnitude of the hidden inheritance and the quiet miracles that had patiently awaited his discovery. Jack Monroe slowly stood, letting his eyes adjust to the dim light as he surveyed the hidden chamber one more time. Blaze sitting quietly beside him, tail sweeping gently across the stone floor, the German shepherd's amber eyes alert and watchful, every sense attuned to the subtle sounds and scents of the abandoned house, the air thick with the faint, comforting aroma of old wood and aged paper. Jack ran his hand along the cool stone wall, feeling the texture of history beneath his fingertips, a silent conversation with the lives that had shaped this place long before he arrived. He carefully picked up another journal, the pages delicate and fragile, each word etched with purpose, recording daily routines, moments of kindness, and reflections that spoke of patience, hope, and attention to detail. Blaze shifted closer, nose brushing Jack's arm in quiet encouragement, guiding him toward yet another hidden corner where a small stack of envelopes, tied neatly with faded ribbon, waited undisturbed. Jack lifted one carefully, breaking the seal to reveal handwritten notes, the ink faded but legible, messages of encouragement, guidance, and gentle wisdom intended for someone who would appreciate the quiet treasures of this hidden sanctuary. The soft glow of the lantern illuminated intricate carvings in the wooden beams and stone walls, patterns that hinted at thoughtfulness and care beyond the ordinary. Jack ran his fingers over the markings, feeling the intention behind each line and curve, the dog's low, rhythmic breathing a steady presence, grounding him in the moment as he absorbed the layered stories of the space. He moved slowly among the objects, handling each with reverence, a carved figurine here, a small box there, delicate trinkets and heirlooms, each imbued with a quiet significance. He realized the house was not merely a physical shelter, but a living archive of human experience, a testament to the importance of observation, patience, and reverence for the small details that make life meaningful. The faint creak of the settling house, the whisper of wind through cracks in the walls, and the soft glow of the lantern created a symphony of sensory impressions, wrapping Jack in the depth of the hidden stories around him. Blaze shifted his stance, ears twitching, alert to every nuance, a loyal guide through the layered histories preserved here. Jack knelt to examine a small, locked wooden box, hinges cool against his palms, and opened it to reveal delicate keepsakes, tokens of affection, and carefully written letters that spanned generations, each item offering a glimpse into the lives and hearts of those who had come before. He set the contents gently aside, taking a moment to absorb the weight of the accumulated history. The chamber no longer felt merely abandoned, but vibrant with the echoes of human intention, kindness, and patience. The lantern light flickering softly across the walls as Jack and Blaze moved through the space, each step deliberate, each breath measured, attuned to the subtle hum of quiet miracles surrounding them. He leaned back against the stone wall, letting the stillness settle into his chest, feeling an enduring connection to the past and a profound sense of gratitude, knowing that the faithful presence of Blaze beside him and the careful attention he had given to every detail of the hidden treasures had revealed a deeper truth, that patience, observation, and respect for the quiet wisdom of the world can uncover moments of wonder and meaning. The abandoned house, now a sanctuary of reflection, learning, and gentle miracles, imparting its silent teachings through objects, words, and the loyal companionship that had guided him to this place. Jack Monroe moved quietly through the deeper corners of the basement, the soft glow of the lantern tracing shadows that stretched along the stone walls. Blaze at his side, ears alert and amber eyes scanning every movement and sound. The air thick with the scent of old timber, aged paper, and a hint of the cold earth beneath the house. Jack ran his hand along the rough surface of an old shelf, fingers brushing against the spines of journals and boxes meticulously arranged, each one a testament to care and intention from decades past. He opened a journal with trembling hands, pages yellowed but words clear, recounting moments of daily life, acts of kindness, and reflections on patience and human connection. Blaze shifted closer, nose brushing Jack's arm, grounding him in the quiet of the moment. Jack continued to explore the hidden chamber, uncovering a small chest filled with delicate trinkets, heirloom coins, and notes written with flowing script, each one a fragment of memory, preserved for someone who would notice and value the subtle miracles. Within, the soft creak of the house above and the faint hum of wind through cracks created a rhythm that blended seamlessly with the beat of Jack's heart. He paused to read one note aloud, words filled with gentle wisdom, encouragement, and hope resonating in the still air. Blaze sat patiently, tail sweeping slowly, eyes fixed on Jack, a silent partner in discovery. Jack moved toward a corner partially hidden behind stacked crates, uncovering a small niche with carefully folded maps and diagrams, the meticulous markings revealing a thoughtful plan and the quiet persistence of the person who had created them. He traced the lines with his fingertips, feeling a connection across time, the air carrying a faint whisper of past intentions. Jack knelt to inspect a set of small boxes, each containing objects arranged with care, the scent of cedar and aged paper mingling with the coolness of the stone beneath him. He lifted one of the boxes to find a collection of letters and photographs, delicate memories preserved in detail, the images capturing moments of joy, reflection, and human connection. The presence of Blaze beside him, alert and attentive, reinforced the sense of partnership, loyalty, and guidance that had brought him to this place. Jack stepped back to absorb the entire chamber, understanding that this hidden sanctuary was more than storage. It was a living archive of life lessons, kindness, and subtle miracles, each object a message waiting for someone. Patient and observant, the lantern light flickering gently across the walls, casting moving patterns that mirrored the passage of time. Jack felt a profound sense of gratitude and reverence, recognizing the house as a quiet teacher. Blaze leaning against his leg, their shared silence a testament to the trust and companionship that had guided them here. Every creak of the floor, every faint rustle of the air, every shadow and beam of light contributed to a tapestry of understanding, connection, and wonder. Jack realized that the discovery was not only about tangible treasures, but the experience itself, the lessons, the quiet patience, the gentle guidance of a loyal companion, and the recognition of miracles. Hidden in plain sight, the chamber, once abandoned and silent, now spoke through the treasures it held, the loyalty of Blaze, and the attentive heart of Jack, a sanctuary of memory, insight, and quiet reverence, leaving him with a sense of fulfillment, connection, and enduring wonder that would stay with him long after he had left the basement. Jack Monroe carefully rose to his feet, Blaze following closely, the German shepherd's presence a steady reassurance as they prepared to leave the hidden chamber, the soft lantern light illuminating the treasures and journals that had unfolded before them like a carefully preserved story. Jack stepped toward the narrow stairway leading back to the main floor, each step measured, mindful of the creaking boards beneath, the air carrying the faint scent of cedar and dust, a tangible connection to the past. He glanced back one last time, fingers brushing the edge of a carved box, feeling the subtle grooves and the stories they held. Blaze padded beside him, nose twitching at every scent, alert to the smallest shifts in the environment, the quiet hum of the house settling around them blending with the rhythm of their movement. Jack reached the floor above, sunlight from broken windows casting delicate patterns across the worn floorboards, illuminating dust motes that floated lazily in the air like tiny golden stars. He took a deep breath, the warmth of the sun mingling with the cool interior air, grounding him in the moment. Blaze circled a corner, ears pricked, tail sweeping slowly, as if confirming the path ahead. Jack moved through the rooms, noting the careful placement of old furniture and artifacts, the house alive with the quiet energy of memories preserved and patiently waiting for discovery. He paused at a window, looking out over the snow-covered yard, the trees, standing silent, their branches heavy with frost, the soft light of the morning filtering through, casting silver ribbons across the landscape. The tranquility outside mirrored the stillness he felt inside. Blaze rested his head briefly against his leg, a gentle nudge of reassurance. Jack ran his fingers along the windowsill, tracing the texture of weathered wood, the imperfections telling a story of years and seasons past. He stepped carefully toward the doorway, each movement deliberate, the floorboards beneath him humming softly under the weight of the morning. Jack carried a small bundle of notes and journals he had selected, handling each with reverence, the fragile pages and delicate ink preserved as if waiting for this precise moment. The quiet rustle of the papers harmonizing with the soft creak of the house and the faint wind whistling. Through cracks in the walls, Blaze followed attentively, amber eyes scanning the space, alert to every nuance. Guiding Jack through the silent house with unspoken confidence, Jack paused at the threshold, taking one final look at the room that had revealed so much, the treasures and hidden messages, the careful care of lives long past, the sense of connection and continuity weighing softly on his shoulders. He exhaled slowly, letting the gravity of the discovery settle in, knowing that the house had shared not just objects but lessons, patience, and quiet miracles. Blaze nuzzled his hand gently, a silent acknowledgement of shared understanding. Jack turned toward the door leading outside, the soft crunch of snow underfoot welcoming them back into the open air, the sunlight warming his face, the wind carrying the scent of pine and cold earth, a promise of new beginnings and the gentle reassurance that the discoveries of the past would accompany him forward. He glanced down at Blaze, whose attentive eyes met his, a silent bond forged through the journey, and together they stepped out into the light, the abandoned house behind them, no longer silent or forgotten, but alive in memory and in the quiet sense of wonder that would remain with them forever. Jack Monroe paused on the small wooden porch of the abandoned house, sunlight glinting off frost-covered branches and illuminating the snow-laden ground. Blaze sitting obediently beside him, ears twitching at every whisper of wind through the trees, the dog's amber eyes following each subtle movement with unwavering focus. Jack inhaled the crisp air, feeling the cold bite gently against his cheeks, while warmth spread through his chest at the thought of the discoveries he had made below. He carefully stepped down the wooden stairs, the old planks creaking softly under his weight, each sound a gentle reminder of the history that lingered within the walls behind him. Blaze padded close, nudging his hand with a reassuring presence, their shared journey through the silent chambers having forged a bond of trust and understanding that transcended words. Jack carried the journals and letters with care, each item a tangible link to lives that had come before, the scent of aged paper and cedar rising faintly, blending with the winter air around them. He walked slowly across the snow-crusted yard, the sunlight catching on ice crystals that sparkled like tiny diamonds, casting delicate reflections across the wooden exterior of the house. He paused to take in the view, the stillness of the forest and the quiet beauty of the morning creating a serene backdrop. Blaze shifted, alert to sounds far beyond Jack's perception, a subtle reminder of the vigilant guidance that had led him through the hidden chambers. Jack opened the first journal, leafing through the pages as he walked, reading aloud softly the careful reflections, notes of encouragement, and observations on patience, kindness, and the value of small, deliberate acts that could ripple across time. The words carrying a gentle resonance that seemed to harmonize with the whisper of the wind and the occasional cry of a distant bird. Blaze lay down briefly. At his feet, tail flicking slowly, eyes still scanning, a steady presence in the quiet expanse. Jack reached a small clearing at the edge of the property, the snow crunching underfoot, his breath misting in the cold air. He paused to observe the forest stretching out before him, the sunlight filtering through tall pines, casting long shadows that danced slowly across the powdery snow. The house behind him standing silent yet alive with the memories and discoveries it had revealed. He adjusted the strap of his pack, ensuring the journals and letters were secure, feeling a profound sense of responsibility to preserve and honor the stories they contained. Blaze rose, stretching before walking. Alongside him, a silent companion ready to continue the journey beyond the boundaries of the old home. Jack's eyes lingered on the intricate details of the wooden porch, the faded paint, the carved edges worn smooth by years of weather and hands long gone, a tangible reminder of the passage of time and the endurance of care. He stepped off the porch, feeling the crunch of snow beneath his boots, the air filled with the quiet symphony of winter, the distant rustle of trees, and the soft whisper of history carried in the wind. Jack took a final deep breath, letting the serenity of the morning, the loyal presence of Blaze, and the accumulated discoveries settle into his consciousness. Knowing that the abandoned house had imparted lessons far beyond its physical treasures, teaching patience, attentiveness, and the quiet joy of uncovering hidden wonders. The snow reflecting the soft golden light of the sun as Jack and Blaze began their walk toward the edge of the forest, the house, standing behind them as a sentinel of memory, secrets, and gentle, enduring miracles. The path ahead opened, promising both reflection and new discoveries to be made in the world beyond. Jack Monroe continued along the snow-dusted path that led away from the old house, Blaze padding close with steady, deliberate steps, ears alert and amber eyes scanning the forest edges as though reading the subtle language of the wind and the faint movements of wildlife. The crisp winter air filling Jack's lungs with the scent of pine, frost, and the faint earthiness of the thawing ground beneath the snow. Sunlight reflected off the frozen branches, creating patterns of sparkling light across the white landscape. Jack adjusted the strap of the pack holding the journals and letters, feeling the weight not as a burden, but as a reminder of the responsibility he carried for the stories preserved within, each step forward echoing softly in the stillness, a rhythm that harmonized with the gentle rustle of distant branches and the occasional chirp of a bird hidden in the canopy. He paused for a moment on a small rise, taking in the view of the forest stretching into the distance, the house. Behind them now, half obscured by the morning mist, its silhouette softened yet resolute, a sentinel holding the secrets and quiet wisdom they had uncovered. Blaze sat patiently at his side, tail sweeping slowly across the snow, eyes fixed on Jack, a steady presence reminding him of their partnership and the trust that had guided them through the hidden chambers below. Jack opened one of the journals to read a passage aloud, the words carrying softly on the breeze, reflections on kindness, patience, and the subtle rewards of attentiveness. The pages worn yet legible, ink faded but resonant, telling stories that seemed to reach across time and touch him directly. Blaze shifted slightly, nuzzling his hand as if acknowledging the significance of the moment. Jack allowed himself to be present in the stillness, feeling the lessons of the house, the objects, and the carefully preserved memories settle within him. The gentle crunch of snow under his boots punctuating the silence and drawing him forward. He noticed small animal tracks alongside theirs, reminding him that life persisted quietly in the forest even as he walked through the remnants of history. Jack continued to move with deliberate care, observing the interplay of light and shadow, the way the sun glinted on frost-coated branches and snowdrifts, casting fleeting patterns that seemed to animate the forest itself. He paused to adjust the lantern, its glow casting soft reflections on the icy surfaces around them. Blaze lifting his head to sniff the air, alert to subtle scents and distant sounds, guiding Jack as always through the nuances of the natural world. He reflected on the treasures they had uncovered, the hidden messages and artifacts preserved beneath the silent floor, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the guidance of the dog, the patience of the past caretakers, and the quiet miracles that had revealed themselves to him. The wind whispered through the pines, a soft, almost imperceptible chorus that seemed to echo the lessons he had read and observed. Jack exhaled slowly, letting the harmony of snow, light, wind, and history settle into his chest. Blaze walking calmly beside him, the pair moving forward in perfect synchrony, the path leading them gently down into the forest, sunlight warming his face despite the chill in the air, the abandoned house fading in the distance, no longer simply a structure, but a repository of wisdom, patience, and quiet wonder. And as Jack and Blaze continued their journey, he felt the enduring presence of those discoveries with him. The silent lessons of the house and the loyal guidance of his companion, creating a lasting sense of reflection, gratitude, and gentle anticipation for the days ahead. The forest alive with subtle signs, soft sounds, and the promise of new understanding waiting quietly around each bend. Jack Monroe and Blaze moved steadily along the winding forest path, the snow crunching softly beneath their feet, sunlight piercing through the canopy of pine trees, scattering delicate patterns across the ground and illuminating the frost-laden branches. the crisp air filling Jack's lungs with a clarity that contrasted sharply with the dusty, enclosed spaces they had just left. He glanced down at Blaze, whose ears were perked and tail swaying slowly, eyes alert to every subtle shift in the forest, a companion both loyal and intuitive, guiding Jack with an unspoken understanding. The journals and letters carefully bundled in his pack, each item a tangible memory of the house's hidden treasures, whispered their stories to him with every movement, the words and objects resonating in his mind like a chorus of distant voices sharing quiet wisdom. Jack paused on a small rise, looking back toward the direction of the abandoned house, its silhouette softened by the morning mist, the sunlight glinting off its roof and windows, revealing the textures of weathered wood and aged stone. He felt a profound sense of gratitude for the patience and care that had preserved the secrets within. Blaze shifted closer, nudging his hand gently, grounding him in the present while reminding him of their journey together. Jack opened a journal from his pack, reading aloud softly as the words floated on the cold air, tales of kindness, attentiveness, and quiet acts that had been committed decades before, the stories illuminating the connection between past and present, the echoes of the house now mingling with the gentle rustle of the forest, the whisper of wind through the branches, and the distant calls of winter birds. Jack moved with deliberate care along the path, stopping occasionally to examine the frost patterns on the trees or the subtle footprints of wildlife in the snow, each observation a reminder of the continuity and persistence of life and memory. Blaze walked silently beside him, a steady, grounding presence, occasionally glancing toward Jack to ensure their steps remained synchronized, the harmony between human and dog underscoring the quiet intimacy of their journey. Jack allowed himself to absorb the landscape, the interplay of light, shadow, and reflective surfaces creating an almost cinematic tapestry around him. The sunlight warming his face while the cold air tingled along his skin. He paused near a cluster of birch trees, the pale trunks glowing softly in the morning light, and he allowed himself to reflect on the discoveries below, the hidden treasures and letters, the careful arrangements and subtle messages left by those who had gone before, realizing that the true inheritance lay not only in the physical objects but in the lessons, patience, and mindfulness they represented. Blaze sat calmly at his side, tail flicking slowly, eyes bright and attentive, reinforcing the quiet connection and trust that had brought them here. Jack exhaled slowly, feeling the weight and significance of their findings settle in his chest, the forest around them alive with subtle sounds, flickering shadows, and the gentle rhythm of wind and snow. Every step forward a meditation on discovery, gratitude, and the enduring value of companionship. He adjusted the strap of his pack and continued along the winding path, the abandoned house fading into the mist behind them. The treasures and wisdom it contained carried with him in both memory and heart. Blaze walking closely, their bond deepened by shared experience, guiding Jack toward the promise of new understanding and quiet wonder awaiting just beyond each bend of the forest trail. Jack Monroe and Blaze continued their walk through the serene winter forest, the soft crunch of snow beneath their boots blending with the distant rustle of pine branches swaying gently in the crisp morning air, sunlight breaking through the canopy in thin golden shafts that illuminated patches of ice and frost, the landscape sparkling like scattered diamonds. Jack adjusted the strap of his pack, feeling the weight of the journals and letters, not as a burden, but as a treasure of stories and wisdom carried safely with him. Blaze walked faithfully at his side, ears twitching with every sound, amber eyes scanning the surroundings with unwavering focus. The dog's presence a steady guide through the quiet expanse of forest and snow. Jack paused briefly beside a cluster of birch trees, the pale trunks glowing softly in the sunlight, and he opened a small notebook to read aloud, the delicate handwriting describing moments of thoughtfulness, patience, and subtle acts of kindness. The words drifting through the cold air and harmonizing with the rhythm of the wind and the gentle creaking of distant branches. Blaze lowered his head, resting briefly at Jack's feet, tail sweeping slowly in silent approval. Jack reflected on the lessons he had uncovered in the house and basement, realizing that the true inheritance was not only in the physical objects but in the quiet guidance, patience, and wisdom they carried. the soft glow of the morning light creating a serene aura around them as they moved forward. He carefully observed footprints in the snow, small marks left by woodland creatures, noticing how life persisted quietly alongside his own path. Each observation deepening his awareness and appreciation of the natural world. Blaze nudged his hand gently, a reminder of their partnership and the silent communication that had guided them through discovery. Jack looked toward the horizon where the forest opened into a small clearing, snow sparkling under the sunlight, the trees forming a protective border around the path ahead. He took a deep breath, feeling the crisp air fill his lungs and a sense of calm settling in his chest. The discoveries from the house and hidden chamber replaying in his mind like a tapestry of stories, kindness, and patience. Observation. Blaze walked beside him, steady and alert, his movements deliberate yet relaxed, reinforcing the bond they shared. Jack allowed himself a moment to absorb the quiet majesty of the forest, the interplay of light and shadow across the snow-covered ground, the soft rustle of branches, and the faint murmur of a distant creek, the natural symphony creating a backdrop for reflection and wonder. He continued onward, reading aloud from a journal about careful planning, thoughtfulness, and the lasting impact of small acts, the words seeming to echo in the forest around them, a bridge between past and present, each step forward guided by attentiveness and gratitude. Blaze's attentive eyes catching every movement, every subtle change in the environment. Jack felt a deep sense of connection not only to the forest, but to the stories he had uncovered, the treasures of the house, and the silent guidance of his loyal companion. The snow glinting in the sunlight, the forest alive with faint sounds and shimmering patterns. He exhaled slowly, letting the serenity of the scene settle into him. The warmth of understanding and quiet awe spreading through his chest. Blaze at his side, tail flicking gently, ears pricked in quiet alertness, and together they walked toward the clearing, the abandoned house and its hidden treasures now behind them yet alive in memory, carrying lessons, patience, and the subtle beauty of discovery into the journey ahead. Each moment in the forest, infused with reflection, gratitude, and the enduring sense of quiet miracles, the light, snow, and presence of Blaze forming a gentle, harmonious rhythm that guided Jack forward into the promise of new days and gentle understanding. Jack Monroe finally reached the edge of the forest where the snow began to thin, sunlight spilling across a small clearing that stretched toward the distant hills, Blaze walking faithfully at his side, ears pricked and amber eyes scanning the open space with a calm alertness, the dog's presence a steadying force as Jack took in the panorama before him, each detail illuminated with crystalline clarity. From the frost glinting on the tips of grass blades to the delicate patterns of ice along the edges of a small creek, he paused, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face and the subtle, grounding weight of the journals and letters in his pack, the stories they contained mingling with the serenity of the landscape. Jack looked down at Blaze, whose gaze met his own with unwavering loyalty, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had shared and the discoveries they had made. He took a deep breath, allowing the crisp winter air to fill his lungs, the rhythm of inhalation and exhalation blending with the faint rustle of distant trees and the soft babble of water over rocks in the creek. Jack began to walk toward the hills, each step deliberate, careful, and full of awareness, noticing the tiny imprints of wildlife in the snow and the subtle way the light shifted across the terrain. Blaze pacing slightly ahead and then circling back, ensuring Jack stayed attuned to the environment. The experience of the abandoned house, the hidden chamber, and the carefully preserved treasures had transformed into a quiet understanding that he carried now. The value not only in the objects but in the lessons, patience, and attention they represented. Jack paused near a gently sloping rise, adjusting the pack and reading a passage aloud from one of the journals, words describing acts of kindness, perseverance, and quiet courage flowing over the clearing like a soft wind. The forest around them absorbing and reflecting the rhythm of his voice. Blaze sat calmly at his feet, tail sweeping slowly over the snow, ears rotating with each subtle sound, a vigilant and faithful companion. Jack continued forward, the journals safely stowed, his steps guided by the memory of discoveries, the light, and the quiet miracles that had revealed themselves in the abandoned house. Every glance at the horizon, every subtle shift in shadow and sunlight, reminded him of the continuity of life, memory, and the enduring presence of lessons learned, the warmth of sunlight contrasting with the cold in a way that seemed to mirror the balance of reflection and action. Jack allowed himself to feel the full weight of gratitude for the house, the hidden treasures, the wisdom preserved within, and for Blaze, whose intuition had guided him unerringly. He paused again, looking down at the snow-dusted ground, seeing the faint patterns left by their steps and the subtle signs of life around them. The harmony of the moment settling into his chest, and as he gazed across the clearing toward the rolling hills, the light catching every frost-covered tree and stone, he felt a deep and abiding peace, a sense of completion that came not from the treasures alone, but from the journey, the companionship, the lessons, and the quiet understanding that the extraordinary often waits for those patient enough to notice. Blaze nudged his hand softly, and together they continued across the snow, the abandoned house now a part of memory and reflection, its hidden stories carried forward with Jack into the open world, a quiet testament to patience, observation, kindness, and the enduring presence of gentle miracles in everyday life.